The Iron Moonhunter, retold by Kathleen Chang. This story takes place in the fall and winter of 1866 and the spring of 1867 as the Chinese immigrants known as Crocker's Pets struggled to build rail lines eastward from Sacramento, California, that would link with those being built westward from Omaha, Nebraska by the Terriers of the Union Pacific. More than 100 years ago, many Chinese people, Tongyun, came to America to build a railroad. They came crowded in the holds of big ships. They suffered 8 long weeks waiting to arrive in America, in the land they called Gumsan or Golden Mountain. The men who had hired them in China said that they would be welcome in Gumsan and paid high wages. But those who greeted them at the docks in San Francisco didn't want the Tongyun in America. These Guaylo, these white demons, cursed and threw bricks at the Tongyun. They even shot at them. The Tongyun were angry and wanted to go home, but they had no money to pay the boat fare, so they stayed and went to work on the Central Pacific Railroad. They worked high in the Sierra Nevada mountains. From sunrise to sunset, they chopped down the giant redwood trees and lifted tons of steel and rock. Often, gangs of Guaylo tried to make trouble. One day they set off an explosion that killed several of the Tongyun. A few weeks after this happened, the Tongyun were blasting a ledge into a granite cliff. The Quan cousins dangled over the edge of the cliff in baskets. They drilled holes in the rock, put gunpowder and fuse in the holes, lit the fuses, and then pulled their baskets to safety as the rock beneath them exploded. Bit by bit, a path wide enough for a railroad was carved into the granite face of the mountain. The Quans liked being high as hawks, able to see far across the Sierra Nevadas. They liked the rugged wilds of Gumsan. They said they would work hard and get rich and start their families here. But one day, the rope that held up Quan Hop's basket broke. Quan Hop fell to his death in the river gorge, 2,000 feet below. Sadly, Quan Ming and Quan Chung climbed down the cliff to bury their cousin by the side of the river. Winter came, and 40 feet of snow fell. The Guaylo wouldn't let the Tongyun stop working, even the tall trees were buried in snow. They dug caves in the snow for shelter and tunneled up to the surface through the packed snow, making air shafts so that they could breathe. To get to and from work, they had to carve out a maze of snow tunnels, some of them 200 feet long. Often, huge hunks of the snow tunnels caved in, and people were buried alive. One night it was Quan Chung who never came back from work. Winter passed and the snow melted, but the spring brought no pleasure to Quan Ming. He missed Quan Ho and Quan Chung. Sometimes he woke up in the night thinking that they were standing by his bed. When he washed his face, he sometimes saw their faces in the water. The rest were troubled too, for many other men died in explosions, cave-ins, and landslides. All the living were haunted by the unhappy faces of their dead friends and brothers. One night, the cook, Ding, dropped a big pot of hot soup, shouting, "Wang Sam, why do you follow me? Are you hungry?" "Ayah," cried out Quan Ming. "Wang Sam died in the landslides last winter. You're seeing a ghost spirit." Zhang Yun, the cook's helper, was so troubled by the spirits that he could not sleep. "When I sleep, I dream of my brother," he said. "I dream that his ghost is looking for the arms he lost in the explosion." Then Zhang Yun became angry. "It's because of the Guaylo and their railroad that our friends and brothers have died. I hate the railroad. I want to blow it up." The other men began to shout and talk about blowing up the railroad, but Quan Ming calmed them down. "Talk sense," he said. "The railroad is our work, and we should be proud of it. We're going to finish it because when we Tongyun say we're going to do something, we don't stop halfway." The men were quiet for a few moments. Then Ding said, "The spirits of our friends and brothers are lost and alone in these barbarian mountains. We must take care of them somehow, or we'll know no peace ourselves." "Let's build a railroad for the spirits," Quan Ming said. "Our own Tongyun Railroad. We'll build the finest train in the world, and we'll ride our train to find the spirits of our friends and brothers." And that's what they did. While they built the Central Pacific Railroad, they saved some of the steel rails. When trains crashed and tumbled off the tracks, which happened all the time, they gathered up the parts. They built a train in the shape of a dragon and called it the Iron Moonhunter. They mined the Sierras for gold and silver. They gave the Moonhunter silver whiskers and teeth that gleamed as he grinned in the night. They painted him bright colors, and they inlaid designs and good luck charms in gold. They gave the Moonhunter wings to help him balance on the high mountain ridges. They shaped his smokestacks into horns and flutes, so he played his song as he ran. His eyes were long searchlights, and he looked for Tongyun, who were lost far from home. And inside him was everything the Tongyun needed. The Tongyun rode the Moonhunter back over the track they'd laid. Waiting in the tunnel where he had died was Quan Chung. Quan waited at the cliff's edge. The cousins wept with joy to see the beautiful trains their friends had built to find them. Soon all the ghost spirits heard the Moonhunter's song, and one by one, out of the mountain's shadows, they stepped into the yellow light shining from the dragon's eyes. Now they were all together again. The first railroaders grew old and died, but the ghosts of the Tongyun still ride the Moonhunter through the Sierra Nevadas. They still look after the Tongyun in Gumsan, and the Iron Moonhunter still plays his song.